Dear friends from Uzbekistan and all over the world, hello. My name is Sifei from Shanxi Normal University of China. It is a great honor for me to participate in this international digital conference on the cultural heritage of Uzbekistan. In this short presentation, I would like to introduce a very interesting Iranian population which lived in ancient Uzbekistan, the Sogdians, who had tight relationships with China, especially northern China, in the early Middle Ages. The Sogdians lived in a region that we could locate between modern southern Uzbekistan and the very west part of modern Tajikistan. It's mainly the region that nowadays includes the territory between Samarkand in the east and Bukhala in the west. In the south, more or less, were the modern city of Shahrisabz. In China, in the last 20 years, we have collected a good number of tombs that belong to powerful Sogdians who migrated in China during the 6th century. They lived there, had a good career, and later died. Once dead, they were buried according to Chinese habits of that period in that area, but with peculiar decorations on their graves. This is a list of the extremely interesting funerary monuments that scholars started to call Sino-Sogdian funerary monuments. Most of them are part of private collections or collections of museums around the world, because very often they were illegally excavated. Now, approximately 7 of them were archaeologically excavated and are now part of the collections of Chinese museums, especially in the area of Xi'an, which is the ancient capital of China. Others are kept in Beijing, Taiyuan, and other parts of China. Now, I would like to introduce you a new monument. I would say the newest one of this group of Sino-Sogdian funerary monuments. It was illegally excavated and it was sold through the antiquary market in Japan and was fortunately restituted to China by a Japanese collector. Now it is exhibited in the National Museum of China. It's a unique grave shaped like a stone house. We have some figures, something like a graffiti represented on the four sides of this stone house, plus images of guardians that we have beside the door, the ideal door on the main facade of this monument that we can see in this slide. And then in every corner, there are guardians that we could call corner guardians. So the door guardians definitely depict the foreigners. In a slide, we have a man, probably from Central Asia, maybe a Sogdian or a Turk, and he is wearing typical Central Asian garments. He is represented in the act of taking his sword in a kind of threatening attitude. In fact, these guardians were like protectors of the tomb occupant. In this other slide, we have something which is not Iranian nor Turkish. He is probably coming from Western Eurasia, probably from the Mediterranean area. He is probably an image, a local version, we could say, of Heracles. You can see that the upper part of his chest is naked, but he has this kind of cloak which looks like a skin of an animal with a note just under his neck. And his face with this curly hair, mustache, could possibly be some kind of the memory of the artist who did this monument for something which was introduced from Greco-Roman mythology. That's why we talk about Heracles, or about his representation, which I'm going to illustrate. This is another view of the monument. From this angle, we can observe closely other details. These are 2 corner guardians at the western side. Again, this is a typical way for Chinese of representing foreigners with beard, mustache, big nose, and exotic garments. On the other side, we have 2 more guardians. And the one on the right is wearing a lion skin, a lion head like a headgear above his head. And this is probably a local version of Vajrapani, a very important figure in early Buddhism already in Gandhara art in northern western India. Already in India art, the figure of this so-called Vajrapani was shaped on Greek Heracles. Let's check some of the details of the decoration on the four sides. Here we see some foreigners in exotic garments, dancing, playing music, or listening to music. One of the main figures is probably the one on the right. He is bigger in size. He is sitting and drinking from a cup. Under an umbrella, he is the tomb occupant. On the other side of the door, we have some women with this kind of a fan, which was used as a veil. Other sides present much more interesting rituals, which are apparently not Chinese. They are probably rooted in this form of religion that we had in Sogdiana, most likely in pre-Islamic time. We see again on the right the important figure riding a horse. He is the most prominent person because he is bigger in size than his attendants around him, and he is wearing a very elaborated crown with on the top a crescent and possibly a little sun or star. He is again under an umbrella. With other attendants, he is following the person in the beginning of this parade who is carrying an altar. So we probably have some connection with the form of Zoroastrianism. It's very interesting to notice that some of the riders using stirrups, which were not introduced in Central Asia before the 6th century. Therefore, most likely, this monument, despite the lack of epitaph and other inscriptions, could be dated to the 6th century. On the other side, we have also in the proper Sogdiana, crowns like this one that we have on this monument were depicted in Sogdian paintings like in this specimen from Panjikand, or even in Samarkand. In the reconstruction by Franz Grenet and François Horry, we have the king of Samarkand wearing a crown in the way of typical Sogdian crowns, which included also crescent, possibly a star or a sun, and spread wings, which could remind of pre-Islamic Persian crowns. This is a very interesting painting where we have many foreigners taking part in the local New Year festivity, in presence of Koreans, Tibetans, Chinese, and probably Bactrians. And then there are Turks everywhere with long hair and no beard. Talking again about this unique Sino-Sogdian monument, we have also the representation of the way of transporting women in that period, with quite interesting detail of this chariot drawn by bulls or oxen. The chariot had some windows open. I think this is a good evidence to say that the person who was transported needed some fresh air. Then this is transportation for a real person. The representation like this we can notice on other Sino-Sogdian monuments from private collections. The arrows are pointing at possibly women inside the chariot who are looking outward to see what is happening around. The final side of the unique monument is a very long scene with a division of sexes, women on the left and men on the right. In the central part, we have probably a wedding scene. The man and the woman are taking part in this celebration with some other people who look like priests, presenting altars to them, and there are also some enigmatic tubular objects on the right. Other men are playing music, singing, dancing, and there are horses with umbrella on the right, which are probably allusions to the last traveling into the underworld of the tomb occupant. And his wife on the left of this scene was supposed to be transported into the underworld with the same ox chariot that she was using when she was alive, but this time you can notice that there are no open windows because it is a funerary chariot. Again, women are singing, playing music, and dancing, exactly like reported in Chinese written sources. Very interesting descriptions of foreigners, especially Sogdians, who were coming from modern Uzbekistan, probably from Bukhara or Samarkand, and they were very fond of music and dance. I thank you very much for your attention.